Today, we're going to talk about one of the most iconic haunted houses in history, the Amityville Horror. This story has it all: a spooky house, a gruesome crime, paranormal activity, and even a touch of controversy. So sit back, grab some popcorn, and let's dive into the creepy world of Amityville. The story starts in November 1974, when a family named the Lutzes moved into a large Dutch colonial house in Amityville, New York. But here's the thing: the house had a dark past. A year earlier, Ronald DeFeo Jr., the previous owner, had murdered his entire family in their sleep with a shotgun. Ronald DeFeo Jr. claimed that he heard voices in the house that urged him to kill his family. He later changed his story and claimed that his sister Dawn killed their father and then their mother killed the siblings before he killed her in self-defense. However, forensic evidence suggested that DeFeo acted alone in the murders, and he was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder. He is currently serving 6 consecutive sentences of 25 years to life in prison. His victims included his parents, Ronald Sr. and Louise, as well as his 2 brothers, John and Mark, and his 2 sisters, Allison and Dawn. He was the eldest of 5 children and grew up in a middle-class family in Amityville, Long Island. As a child, DeFeo was known to have behavioral problems and was often in trouble with the law. He was expelled from school in the 9th grade and began abusing drugs and alcohol at a young age. DeFeo's parents tried to get him help, but their efforts were largely unsuccessful. In addition to the DeFeo murders and the alleged haunting of the Amityville house, the town has also been the site of other tragic and disturbing events, including a horrific case of child abuse and neglect in the 1980s that led to the deaths of several children. Over the years, Amityville has become associated with darkness, death, and horror, and the town's notoriety continues to attract tourists and curiosity seekers who are drawn to its macabre history. Some have speculated that DeFeo Jr. may have been motivated by financial gain, as he stood to inherit a substantial amount of money from his father's estate. Others have suggested that he may have had a history of drug abuse or mental illness, which could have contributed to his violent behavior. Regardless of the motive, the killings were brutal and shocking, and they left a lasting mark on the town of Amityville and on the country as a whole. The Lutzes knew about the crime, but they didn't let it deter them from buying the house at a bargain price. But soon after moving in, the Lutzes started experiencing strange phenomena. Doors would open and close on their own, flies would swarm the house despite the cold weather, strange smells would permeate the rooms. They even reported seeing ghostly apparitions. The Lutzes also claimed that they felt a pervasive sense of dread and anxiety, and that they saw demonic faces in the windows. One time, they even saw green slime oozing from the walls. Perhaps the most infamous feature of the Amityville house is the so-called Red Room. This was a small closet located in the basement that the Lutzes discovered soon after moving in. According to their accounts, the Red Room was filled with flies and had a terrible aura. They also claimed that it was the site of some of the most intense paranormal activity in the house, including a vision of a demonic pig-like creature with glowing red eyes. After only 28 days of living in the Amityville house, the Lutzes fled in terror, leaving most of their belongings behind. They went public with their story, which soon became a sensation in the media. The house became a tourist attraction, and a best-selling book and a movie were made about the haunting. But not everyone believed the Lutzes' story. The story of the Amityville Horror has captivated the public's imagination for decades. There have been multiple books, movies, and TV shows based on the events, each adding their own spin to the story. But what is the truth behind the legend? There are those who believe that the Lutz family's experiences were genuine, and that the house was indeed haunted by an evil spirit. They point to the level of detail in the family's accounts, and the fact that they never attempted to profit from their story, as evidence of their sincerity. There have also been reports of strange activity in the Amityville area before and after the Lutz family's experiences. On the other hand, skeptics have claimed that the Amityville Horror was a hoax perpetrated by the Lutzes and their lawyer, who allegedly came up with the story to get out of their mortgage. They point out that the Lutzes sold the movie rights to their story for a hefty sum, and that they later sued each other over the profits. Moreover, There were inconsistencies in their accounts, and some of the evidence they presented was dubious. One of the key pieces of evidence for the skeptics is the fact that the Lutz family's account of their experiences has changed over time. In interviews and in their book, The Amityville Horror, the family added new details and embellishments to their story. For example, in the book, they claimed that they found a hidden room in the basement that was filled with flies, while in earlier interviews they made no mention of such a room. There is also the question of whether the Lutz family was predisposed to believe in the paranormal. George Lutz, the father, was reportedly interested in the occult and had dabbled in it before moving into the house. Some skeptics believe that this may have influenced the family's perceptions and made them more likely to interpret strange occurrences as paranormal activity. Despite the skepticism, there are still those who believe that the Amityville Horror was a genuine haunting. They point to the fact that the house was built on land that was once used as a Native American burial ground, and that this may have attracted negative energy to the area. They also point to the fact that the DeFeo family was murdered in the house, and that this may have left a residual energy that was picked up by the Lutz family. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for the believers is the testimony of Ed and Lorraine Warren, two well-known paranormal investigators who visited the house in 1976. The Warrens' investigations often involved alleged demonic activity, and they claimed to have exorcised numerous demons from people and locations. They gained fame in the 1970s for their involvement in the Amityville Horror case. The Warrens claimed to have witnessed a range of paranormal activity, including levitation and the appearance of ghostly apparitions. They also claimed to have captured audio recordings of disembodied voices and a photograph of a ghostly figure. The Warrens also claimed to have made contact with the spirits of several people who had been killed in the house, including the DeFeo family and a group of Native Americans who had allegedly been massacred on the site centuries earlier. So what's the truth about the Amityville Horror? Was it a real haunting or a clever scam? We may never know for sure, but one thing is certain. The story of the Amityville house has become a legend in the horror genre, inspiring countless imitations and adaptations.